I'm Judith Maria and welcome to SC Global News. From the joyful meeting between the viral Conclave kids and Pope Leo XIV to the Catholic bishop's call on the European Union to appoint a special envoy for religious freedom, we have many stories to cover. The students from Chicago's Our Lady of Mount Carmel Academy, who gained widespread attention for their mock conclave, met Pope Leo XIV in Vatican City on Wednesday. The grade schoolers traveled to Rome on Monday to participate in a general audience with the Pope at St. Peter's Square. The students, dressed in full costume, were seated near the front of the square during the Pope's general audience and stayed afterward for a special meet and greet with him.
Chicago's viral Conclave kids met Pope Leo XIV in the Vatican City on Wednesday. The students from Chicago's Our Lady of Mount Carmel Academy went viral for their mock conclave just days before the actual conclave, which elect Pope Leo XIV as the 267th Pontiff of the Roman Catholic Church in May 2025. Just 5 months after their mini conclave, the students from grade 1 to 4 traveled to Rome on Monday to attend the general audience with Pope in St. Peter's Square. Their mock conclave was complete with votes, white smoke, and full costumes as cardinals, Swiss guards, and the newly elected pontiff to learn more about conclave and church in the wake of Pope Francis's death. Chicago Cardinal Blaise Cupich visited the group following the election of Pope Leo XIV, a native of Chicago's South Side, as the new pontiff, and he helped arrange their meeting with the Pope on Wednesday in St. Peter's Square. Dressed in full costume, the students were seated near the front during the Pope's general audience and later stayed for a special meet and greet with him. The students couldn't contain their excitement as they saw the real Pope in front of them. Augie Wilk, who was elected as a pontiff in the mock conclave, shared that he couldn't believe that they actually met the Pope.
I think he was pretty calm, and he laughed a couple of times because it's kind of funny that we're matching. He wore my hat for a couple seconds and then he gave it back to me, so I kind of have something special from him.
On Tuesday, the students spent the day sightseeing, including visits to the iconic Spanish Steps and Trevi Fountain, and they'll also have more opportunities to explore the historic city on Thursday. They are also scheduled to attend Mass with Cardinal Cupich. According to the little kids, this is the best field trip they ever had. They got to meet the Pope, historic places, and lots of gelatos.
Donald Trump announced that Israel and Hamas have agreed to the first phase of his Gaza peace plan, including a temporary ceasefire and the release of hostages. Israel would withdraw troops to a set line while further negotiations address Gaza's post-war governance and Hamas's disarmament. The deal awaits Israeli approval, after which troop pullbacks and hostage releases are expected within 72 hours. Trump plans to travel to Egypt to oversee implementation amid cautious international optimism.
Donald Trump has announced that Israel and Hamas have agreed to the first phase of his 20-point Gaza peace plan, marking a significant advance toward a ceasefire and hostage release. In a post on Truth Social late on October 8th, Trump said that all of the captives will be released very soon and that Israel would pull back its troops to a mutually agreed line as an initial step toward lasting peace. The deal is being hailed as Trump's most substantive breakthrough in the Gaza war thus far. Still, many crucial issues remain unresolved. How far and when Israel will withdraw the structure of Gaza's post-war administration, the disarmament of Hamas, and the overall political future of the territory. According to analysts, the agreement reflects only a partial consensus. There are serious disagreements that must be negotiated. Under the plan, Israel's government must now approve the deal. Once ratified, a true pullback will begin, and over the following 72 hours, Hamas is expected to start releasing captives. Trump is also expected to travel to Egypt soon to help oversee the deal's implementation. The announcement has sparked cautious optimism, but observers warn that the real test lies in execution and in bridging the many remaining gaps between the parties.
The Latin Patriarchate of Jerusalem has welcomed the U.S. brokered ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. In a statement, Cardinal Pierbattista Isabella expressed hope that the deal will mark the beginning of peace and called on faithful to pray with Pope Leo for lasting reconciliation.
The Latin Patriarchate of Jerusalem, in a press release on Thursday, October 9th, welcomed the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas brokered by the United States. U.S. President Donald Trump announced the hostage and ceasefire deal early this morning. According to the first phase of the peace plan, Hamas will release all hostages while Israel will withdraw its troops to an agreed-upon line. The Latin Patriarchate expressed joy over this announcement, noting that attacks in the Gaza Strip will cease and hostages will be released in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. It voiced hope that the accord would be fully and faithfully implemented, marking the beginning of the end of the ongoing conflict. Cardinal Pierbattista Isabella, Latin Patriarchate of Jerusalem, acknowledged that obstacles may still arise, but emphasized that this agreement brings a little more trust for the future and renews hope for both the Israeli and Palestinian peoples. He added that they are now happy to begin thinking not about war, but about rebuilding after it. The Patriarchate also commended all those involved in the negotiation process, appreciating their tireless efforts in making this step possible. The statement concluded by exhorting everyone to join Pope Leo in praying for peace on October 11th.
In Nigeria, 3 Christians, including 2 students, were shot dead by the military while returning from a funeral in Benue State. The Nassau community is demanding justice and calling for the army's withdrawal after yet another deadly attack on Christians in the region.
2 Christian high school students and a youth were killed by members of the Nigerian military while returning from the burial of their community leader. The tragic incident occurred in Jato Aka, Kwande County, Nigeria. The victims, Gloria Songo, Iorfa James, and Iorsu Terna, belong to the Nazaf community, an agrarian and predominantly Christian group. They had traveled to their ancestral homeland, now overrun by Fulani militia, to bury their king, Chief Hanawe Laha. The Nazaf people have been confined to Jato Aka, one of 5 council wards in Turan, after being forcibly displaced from their land. As returning to Nazaf was deemed dangerous, the community held the wake of their deceased king in Jato Aka and requested a military escort for the burial. According to Solomon Amande, the Nazaf youth leader and eyewitness, the military refused to provide security because the community could only raise 740,000 of the 1 million naira demanded. Left without support, the youths risked traveling alone and completed the burial peacefully. However, while returning, the military reportedly opened fire on the group, killing Iorsu Terna and injuring several others. In the protest that followed, soldiers allegedly fired again, killing 2 students who were returning from school. At least 10 others were injured. Chief Timothy Ahile, the monarch of Kwande, condemned the killings and demanded the immediate withdrawal of military forces from the region. They should go now. They have joined the Fulani to kill us and take over our land, he said angrily. They have turned their guns against us as seen on Tuesday. The betrayal is unbearable. Enough is enough, he added. Incidents of violence against Christians continue to rise in Nigeria, with communities like Nazaf caught between Fulani militants and state forces. Many accuse both the media and international leaders of ignoring their plight.
The U.S. Department of Justice announced on Wednesday that a 29-year-old former Uber driver from Florida has been arrested and charged in connection with the Palisades fire, one of the most devastating wildfires in Los Angeles history that killed a dozen people in the region earlier this year.
A 29-year-old Florida man who deliberately started a small brush fire that grew into a deadly Palisades blaze in California last January has been arrested by the federal authorities. Jonathan Rindrecht, who worked as an Uber driver, was taken into custody on October the 7th. The complaint alleges that a single person's recklessness caused one of the worst fires Los Angeles has ever seen, resulting in death and widespread destruction in Pacific Palisades, said Acting United States Attorney Bill Esaili. He expressed hope that the criminal case would bring some measure of justice to those affected by the horrific tragedy. A statement released by the Department of Justice noted that law enforcement determined that Rinderknecht maliciously set the Lachman fire just after midnight on January the 1st after dropping off a passenger. He then called 911 to report the fire himself and returned to the scene to make a video of the blaze and firefighting efforts. The authorities also revealed that in the previous days, the perpetrator had been repeatedly listening to a rap song whose music video included things being set on fire. The Palisade fire killed 12 people and burned more than 6,000 buildings and more than 23,000 acres in the Pacific Palisades and parts of Malibu. Although the fire was initially contained, it smoldered underground for nearly a week until strong winds reignited it on January the 7th. If convicted, Rinderknecht would face minimum sentence of 5 years in federal prison and a maximum sentence of 20 years.
In Vienna, 7 teenagers of Arab origin aged 14 to 17 faced trial for raping, assaulting, blackmailing, robbing and arson against a 30-year-old female teacher. The case began with a consensual affair with an ex-pupil in April 2024, escalating when he and his friends posing as a gang allegedly drugged and abused her, extorted money and torched her apartment in January 2025. Amid Austria's strict 2025 immigration policies curbing asylum, halting family reunifications and accelerating deportations to ease strained services, the trial, fueling sex crime law debates, continues until October 20.
In a case that shook Austria, several school-going delinquents between the ages of 14 and 17 from Arab refugee families will be going on trial today for committing a series of violent acts, including rape against a teacher. A trial which will commence at the Vienna Regional Council will see 7 children of Afghan and Iraqi families appear before the court to contest their charges of rape, sexual coercion and blackmail, which they had committed in the course of 2024 and 2025. The alleged offences reportedly began when a Muslim youth of Afghan origin started to stalk and threaten his school teacher in exchange for sexual advances. After relentless harassment from the teen, the victim was coerced into performing sexual acts. However, starting in May 2024, the former student began visiting the teachers with his friends who are allegedly part of a criminal gang. These friends allegedly intimidated the teacher during these visits and threatened to disclose the details of their previous encounter. This caused the teacher to provide the defendants with tobacco, alcohol and food, along with several instances of sexual acts. Prosecution also stated that the gang allegedly took advantage of the teacher while she was in an incapacitated state. This high-profile case is drawing significant public and media attention, reflecting ongoing concern among the rising immigrant cases and the safety of vulnerable individuals in educational environments.
Pope Leo XIV marked the start of his weekly general audience at St. Peter's Square with a heartfelt gesture by blessing the Bells of Mercy, first consecrated by Pope Francis in 2016. The pontiff's message centered on God's closeness in human weakness and the unending reach of divine love, inspiring pilgrims gathered from around the world.
Pope Leo XIV began his weekly general audience at St. Peter's Square by greeting the faithful from his Pope-mobile and blessing a set of bells of mercy presented by a group of visitors. The bells, first consecrated by Pope Francis in 2016, form part of a traveling concert celebrating mercy and reconciliation. According to Vatican media reports, the pontiff reflected on the humility of the risen Christ and his constant presence in human life. He noted that people often expect divine encounters only in moments of peace and order. Reflecting on this, he added that God draws near in times of doubt, failure, and pain. The Pope emphasized that no failure or sin is beyond redemption, stating that no fall is final, no night is endless. His words highlighted that God's love reaches even the most broken and weary hearts. At the close of the audience, Pope Leo greeted pilgrims from several countries and blessed religious artifacts. He urged the faithful to bring the joy of the resurrection into their daily lives through work, family, and service to others. The event, reported by Rome Reports, highlighted Pope Leo's ongoing focus on mercy, hope, and the transforming power of faith.
The Holy Father has urged U.S. bishops to take a firm and united stand for vulnerable immigrant families under President Donald Trump's policies, reinforcing his earlier condemnation of harsh immigration measures. During a Vatican meeting, he received letters from immigrants living in fear of deportation. He called on the church leaders to defend their rights.
Pope Leo XIV on Wednesday called on U.S. bishops to confront the treatment of immigrants under President Donald Trump's policies, according to Reuters. The gathering at the Vatican lauded bishops and social workers from the U.S.-Mexico border. Sources said the Holy Father received dozens of letters from immigrants describing fears of deportation. El Paso Bishop Mark Seitz told Reuters that the pontiff expressed deep personal concern, urging the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops to speak strongly on the issue. The Vatican did not issue an immediate statement about the private audience. However, participants noted that the Pope's comments reflected growing engagement with immigration concerns in the United States. Pope Leo, the first American-born pope, was elected in May to succeed the late Pope Francis. While initially more reserved than his predecessor, he has recently sharpened his tone on social issues. Earlier this month, he questioned whether Trump-era immigration policies aligned with Catholic pro-life principles, which drew sharp backlash from conservatives who had once lauded his restraint on divisive issues. On Tuesday, he met privately with more than 100 American Catholics working in migrant ministries, thanking them for their efforts to support vulnerable families.
The Missionaries of Charity, founded by Saint Teresa of Calcutta, celebrated 75 years of service to the poorest of the poor. A solemn mass, perpetual adoration, and a statue unveiling marked the milestone celebration at the congregation's mother house in Calcutta.
The Congregation of the Missionaries of Charity, founded by Saint Teresa of Calcutta, celebrated the 75th anniversary of its founding on October 7th, the feast of Our Lady of the Rosary. The day was marked by a solemn celebration at the Mother House in Kolkata, which serves as the global headquarters of the congregation. The celebrations began with a Holy Mass at the tomb of the Albanian-born Indian saint. Archbishop Elias Frank of the Archdiocese of Calcutta presided over the Mass, concelebrated by Father Dominic Gomez, Archdiocesan Chancellor, Father Benjamin M.C., Superior of the Missionaries of Charity Fathers, and other priests. Throughout the day, the Mother House also held perpetual adoration, a practice deeply cherished by Mother Teresa and her sisters. A public ceremony was held at 4 p.m., attended by Members of Parliament Derek O'Brien and Sudhir Bandyopadhyay, Member of the Legislative Assembly Naina Bandyopadhyay, Archbishop Elias Frank, and other dignitaries. Derek O'Brien praised the missionary sisters for their selfless service to the poor, saying that they informed the conscience of the city. The MP, along with the Archbishop, also unveiled a new statue of Mother Teresa outside the Mother House, depicting her bending down to embrace a child running toward her. The Superior General of the congregation, Sister Mary Joseph MC, also addressed the gathering. Calling the occasion a testament to divine grace, she said, quote, "Mother taught us that holiness is not a luxury, but a simple duty of love," end quote. Sister Mary Joseph recalled an incident from the previous day when the sisters rescued a man from the streets who sadly passed away before reaching their home. She noted that this reflects the ongoing reality of their mission. She said, quote, "There are still so many who suffer from deep wounds, neglect, and poverty. The need for our mission has not changed. It remains as urgent as ever," end quote. At night, a documentary titled Mother Teresa, Prophet of Compassion was screened at the Mother House. The film, produced by veteran journalist Anto Akara, offered a candid portrait of the white sari-clad saint of Calcutta, including a 1995 interview with her. Founded on October 7, 1950, the Missionaries of Charity now number 5,766 sisters, serving in 754 homes across 138 countries. The congregation also includes branches for brothers and fathers established in 1963 and 1984 respectively. Its contemplative branch consists of sisters who remain in cloisters praying for the world and the salvation of souls.
Commission of Bishops' Conference of the European Union renewed their call on the EU to take strong action against the global persecution of Christians by restoring their position of Special Envoy of Religious Freedom. They also highlighted that appointing someone to this role strengthens the EU's ability to monitor, report on and respond effectively to violations of religious freedom worldwide.
The representatives of the Catholic bishops of the European Union have renewed their appeal for the EU to take decisive action against the global persecution of Christians by reinstating the position of Special Envoy for Religious Freedom. Following their autumn assembly, the Commission of the Bishops' Conferences of the European Union emphasized that freedom of thought, conscience, and religion are inalienable human rights enshrined in Article 10 of the EU Charter of Fundamental Rights, which remains under serious threat in many parts of the world. The bishops expressed their growing dismay at the discrimination and persecution suffered by individuals, religious minorities, and faith communities, mostly Christian. The Commission also recognized that the EU has consistently affirmed its commitment to human rights as a central pillar of its external action. However, they noted that the existing mechanisms are in themselves very valuable but lack authority and divisibility necessary to address the crisis with required vigor and coherence. The bishops went on to affirm that the EU bears a particular responsibility to uphold these values beyond its borders. They highlighted that the role of European Union Special Envoy for the promotion of freedom of religion or belief outside the EU was established in 2016 has played a key role in advancing this cause on international stage. They further stressed that appointing someone to this role enhances the EU's capacity to monitor, report on, and respond effectively to violations of religious freedom worldwide. Expressing their concern, the bishops stated that they are deeply troubled that this crucial position has remained unfilled for an extended period, sending a troubling message both to persecuted communities and to those who violate religious freedom without consequence. The bishops representing the Catholic Church across EU member states also criticized the continued vacancy, warning that it signals a declining prioritization of this fundamental right within the EU foreign policy at a time when its protection is more urgently needed than ever. The Bishops' Commission urged European Union to appoint a new EU Special Envoy without further delay.
That's all for today. Until we meet again, God bless and thank you.